guys? How y'all doing today? Well, baby, if you are Jay-Z and Tony Busby, y'all still going back and forth. Tony Busby has been called out by a judge in New York City for still not applying for Pro Hoc VC. Remember when we said, as you'll remember, Pro Hoc VC is not that easy to get, especially when you have 21 open cases. A lot of people thought that we were putting 20 on 10. However, it looks like the actual judges in the case have now said that Buzbee has to answer. Again, people are worried about where that's going to go. Pro Hoc VC is not guaranteed. It's not just something you do. It's not easy to get. However, that isn't to say Busby won't get it. We'll read the judge's letter in a second. More importantly, Tony Busby is telling Jay-Z's team, don't worry about what we got going on with the 21 Diddy lawsuits. What you need to be worried about is these criminal accusations coming down. Y'all, remember when Jay-Z's team said, would you not think if it was criminal, you would report it? And I said, okay, that's bars. Fair enough. However, Tony Busby said, you know what? Good idea. He actually issued a notice saying that he has reported all of Roc Nation and what Quinn Emanuel were doing, and that he is fully cooperating with the investigation. Meanwhile, Jay-Z is waiting for a judge to decide whether or not that very oddly worded private investigator affidavit swearing that they heard Jay-Z's victim confess that she was lying about everything after she was supposed to be a Jane Doe and showed up on her doorstep with two private investigators that said they were not hired by Jay-Z, but they were representing him. I know it's all very, very odd, but let's get into this. Let's talk about the trouble. Remember when we said, now, baby, this isn't one battle. It is a war, and there's a lot of wars going on. There's a war in Louisiana. Roc Nation, Quinn Emanuel, according to Tony Busby, got some of Tony Busby's former clients to sue him. He says it's frivolous. It will be dismissed. Jay-Z's trying to get him for defamation and extortion. In California, the judge is like, I don't think this rises to the level of extortion. They said they approved. They submitted that affidavit. They're waiting on that. Texas, Tony Busby has lit a fire in Texas. He is cooperating with Texas authorities to hold Roc Nation and Quinn Emanuel accountable. However, in New York, baby, Alex Spiro, we always said he runs New York and LA. Tony Busby got Texas and Louisiana. One of the judges in Tony Busby's case is saying, what the heck are you doing, Busby? Why have you still not applied for Pro Hoc VC? You are not licensed to practice law in this court, and you need to apply for Pro Hoc VC. And let me just say this, right? I know a lot of people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but honestly, this is very disconcerting to the actual victims or some of the victims it's affecting. We are waiting for Busby's next move. Maybe this is purely strategic. Right now, a lot of legal professionals say it looks sloppy, or he's holding off on the last second to see if he's going to stay with the case or let co-counsel completely take over. Let's get into this. Judge Ronnie Abrams, a United States District Judge in the Southern District of New York, said, it has come to the court's attention that Anthony Busby Esquire, who signed the complaint and several other filings on behalf of plaintiff, that's a John Doe and one of the John Does suing Diddy, has not been admitted to practice in the Southern District of New York. We were the first to report that. A lot of people got mad, but a fact's a fact, right? Moreover, although Mr. Busby was warned several weeks ago in a parallel case that this conduct violated Local Civil Rule 1.3, he failed to bring this issue to the court's attention. Bring it to the court's attention would be in Pro Hoc VC. Just to let you guys know, he applied for admission in the Southern District of New York. That means that if you are accepted, you never have to apply for Pro Hoc VC. Some people said, oh, it's because it wasn't a wet ink problem. That is a lie. That's not true. When you are rejected, they actually tell you why you're rejected, whether you had an original signature or not. They said that wasn't the issue. The issue that they actually said is he was rejected from practicing in the Southern District of New York for now and the foreseeable future because he had made multiple entries into the court without permission. So that permanently barred him from there. It wasn't because he didn't sign a paper. If that was, it could have been easily rectified. It's something deeper. However, right? This is something different. The judge is saying, why have you not applied for Pro Hoc Vici? Okay. He said no later than March 18th, I believe that's Monday, Mr. Busby shall file a letter explaining why he failed to notify the court about this issue earlier and proposing the next steps to rectify it. The next steps to rectify this would be to apply for Pro Hoc Vici or remove yourself from the case. Now, if you remove yourself from the case, that does not necessarily mean the case is going to be thrown out. It could actually just mean that you get another lawyer to take over, right? And in the interest of justice, technically, if a judge wanted to be an a-hole, they could get that case dismissed. But in the interest of justice, most likely a judge will let a new lawyer come through and take the case. But we'll see, because Busby might be holding on to an ace in the hole. So we will withhold judgment to see. But Busby, the ball is in your court. Speaking of the ball in someone's court, Busby just hit a home run with his fight against Roc Nation, okay? Busby actually said, okay, he said, when the Busby law firm filed suit against Roc Nation and lawyers Marcy Croft, who he has shown is one of Roc Nation's lawyers, they were doing some stuff with Louisiana, and Quinn Emanuel for violation of various state laws, including battery and impersonation of a public official. Battery, I believe, is when you try to get people to sue their lawyers. I don't know. I went over in a different thing, but he goes into basically saying it was illegal for them to offer these people money to sue him and to actively petition for that. On top of that, they said that they were state officials and didn't say that they were private investigators, okay? They said the case was filed on behalf of a former client of the firm who was illegally solicited by agents working on behalf of Roc Nation, Marcy Croft, and Quinn Emanuel. These agents pretended to work for the state of Texas and offered the former client money to sue Busby Law Firm. This illegal conduct, I'm sorry, I'm not reading my Busby voice. This illegal conduct has happened more than 24 times to date and has resulted in 2 utterly frivolous cases against the firm. The lawsuit filed today alleges the defendant's conspiracy is intended to obstruct justice and prevent the Busby Law Firm from pursuing cases related to the Diddy litigation in New York. The conduct isn't just alleged, it is caught on tape, which is more than I can say about Jay-Z's affidavit with that private investigator. I think Busby's the only person that has somebody on tape. He goes on to say, defendant Marcy Croft, who describes herself on social media as part of Team Roc, is orchestrating the conspiracy along with the assistance of defendant Quinn Emanuel. As you can see from the screenshot, Croft, Quinn Emanuel, and Roc Nation have a long working history. The suit alleges defendant Roc Nation is financing the illegal efforts. Now here comes the money. Open your ears. As set foot in the lawsuit earlier this week, agents acting on Marcy Croft's behalf again were caught on tape soliciting and offering money, up to $10,000, to former clients of the Busby Law Firm to convince them to file a frivolous case against the Busby Law Firm. Here it comes, y'all. These folks have now stooped to a new low to try to intimidate the lawyers of the Busby Law Firm from doing their important work. They are now contacting clients and former clients and actually offering them money to sue me. This conduct has specifically targeted our firm, so we would not pursue cases related to the Diddy litigation. Let me be clear. We will not be bullied or intimidated. The defendants this time overstepped, got sloppy, and stupidly got caught at their illegal scheme on tape. We've reported this conduct to the authorities and intend to cooperate with the authorities to ensure all involved are prosecuted to the full extent under Texas law. Let me just repeat that, because Busby literally let us know that he literally is pursuing criminal charges against Roc Nation, Quinn Emanuel, and Marcy Croft. He said, "We have reported this conduct to the authorities and intend to cooperate with the authorities to ensure all involved are prosecuted to the full extent under Texas law." Y'all, this battle is far from over. It is 100% eaten up. Busby is serving up some Texas cooking. We're going to have to see if he stays on those Diddy cases in New York. Let's not forget he has Diddy cases, I believe, also in California, and I believe one in, is it Alabama? I don't know. One thing that did just pop in my mind while I was reading this, I find it odd that the private investigator that Jay-Z says is representing him, but he didn't hire, is Marcy Croft. Because Marcy Croft is who he said here was the one that hired it. So Marcy Croft is working in Rock Nation, and she hired these investigators to represent her boss, Rock Nation. Well, then, yeah. Anyway, y'all, this is getting deep. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm going to keep y'all followed up. But what do y'all think about Buzbee and the Pro Hawk VC? Fingers crossed he gets admitted into every case, or he can walk away and let the other lawyers take over. However, what's going on with this criminal investigation into Jay-Z, Rock Nation, Marcy Croft, and Quinn Emanuel? I think that's a big story that is developing. But I'll keep you posted. Anyway, y'all, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.